Welcome everyone to our ReSourceYYC Lunch and Learn. So that you are aware, ReSourceYYC is a co-working community geared to professionals. We offer our lunch and learn sessions as a means for our community to network and provide meaningful learning opportunities. We also provide private office spaces, dedicated desks, day drop-ins, and virtual office options. If you're not yet a member with us, we encourage you to check out our website and follow us on social media. Links will be posted in the chat. Today, we have one of our co-founders, Ron Bettin, hosting our panel on entrepreneurial hacks. Over to you, Ron.
Good. Thanks, Rosemary. So thanks for the panelists and everybody who's joined us today. And we do record this because every now and then there's some cool little things that come out of it that people want to go back and refer to. So either the panelist or anyone attending. So thanks for attending, and thanks for the panelists today, because I know we got some cool entrepreneurs to share some of their stories, and some lessons are learned easy and some lessons are learned the hard way. So I've learned most of mine the hard way. So any hacks usually have a little bit of a story behind them, which actually makes them more worthwhile learning for other people. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction, and then I'll let each of the panelists just kind of talk a bit about their business and some of their entrepreneurial experience as well. So Russ Cibateri, he's a founder of ARC Solutions. He does accounting, and he also financially serves, and I know he also is an entrepreneur involved in his own business, so he's got some firsthand knowledge being an owner. And Scott Courtney, he's the founder and president of Commodore Solutions. They do workplace testing services, and I know we chatted a bit earlier, the COVID year and everything has made it an interesting year for both his business and testing. So we'll talk about that. Jamil Sabani, sorry, I probably said that wrong.
All good.
Is a real estate, has a real estate company, and really involved in the Just Sold It team. And he has some cool technology that they've been involved in recently, and I think that's a huge hack for his industry. So they'll be interested in hearing about that. And Jody Conrad is actually founder of Crux Analytics, which is a cool little Calgary success story that's everybody's gonna be talking about in the core analytics world. So and a good example of how everybody in Calgary has been trying to transition, and Jody actually did that. So looking forward to hearing a bit about her story and some of the things she's learned along the way. So maybe I'll just start with a bit of a roundtable. And Russ, do you want to just tell us a bit about your business and kind of a bit of your journey?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Russ. I own a company called ARC Solution. My background is coming from financial institution. I've been a commercial lender for many, many years in different commercial banks, and I followed with the controller position and CFO position. So eventually in 2017, I decided to start on my own. So I launched my own company, mainly focused to support small companies that cannot afford a full-time CFO controller position and just being a CFO drive-by controller. Last year of the COVID has proved that lots of people requires and needs CFO controller who need some guidance to navigate through the CRA benefits and how to get that and how to benefit out of that. So that was a great year for me, actually.
Great. Yeah, it was complicated waiting for all the programs to roll out and figure out what they are and how they apply. So I imagine there'll be lots of interest. Might be some even questions about that after. So Scott, you want to tell us just a little more about your journey and where you're at?
Sure. Yeah, like Ron said, I'm the founder and president of Commodore Solutions. We are a workplace testing company. So we do medical testing for a variety of industries, oil and gas and construction probably being our main. COVID, I guess just to touch on that, was a very interesting year for us for a few different reasons. One, because a lot of our clients were not doing the same workload that they had anticipated they were doing. And then two, having to adhere to the guidelines. We were lucky, we were essential, but a big issue for us was getting creative with the PPE that the hospitals took main priority over. And the smaller firms like us had to really scrounge to get, even basic things like gloves, masks, and cleaning supplies. So we had to get creative with some of that stuff. But yeah, we do everything from drug and alcohol testing to fit for duty medical assessments to return to work, and helping companies kind of navigate that challenging area where medical knowledge is valuable, but not a lot of companies really understand that aspect or are very comfortable with it. So that's where we try and lend value.
So maybe we'll have to get some PPE hacks from you as well. Jamil.
Yeah, sure. Jamil Pabani. I'm a real estate agent here in Calgary. My background is actually, I was in the management consulting industry for many years. And I have a bit of a background in real estate going back almost 10 years or so prior to actually getting licensed as an agent. And over kind of the last, I'd say about 4.5 years, I've really built out my practice a little bit more between property management, resale, building homes, you name it. We kind of pretty much have our hats in something there. Over the last, I'd say 12 months, it's been a really interesting experience because real estate, and when you look at real estate agents, it always seems to be like a second or third career for many. And so when it comes to the level of technology and being a little bit more advanced in that space, it's just something that we haven't traditionally been able to accept. But there's been a lot of acceptance over the last 12 months by many agents as we've had to now adjust really what we're doing and shift the way that we're servicing our clients. So COVID has really helped propel our industry quite a bit over the last 12 months to bring it up. I wouldn't say we're quite there yet, but we're a massive step ahead of where we were 12 months prior to.
Yeah, and I think probably today we'll end up talking about technology and things like that. And that's certainly one thing I've seen is even things that I used and wanted to use more. If you didn't have everybody, if not everybody was participating, then it was a good technology for one person. Where now, now here we are on a Zoom panel session, right? And that's just par for business. So yeah, good. Jody, you want to tell us a bit about your journey and company?
Yeah, I'm Jody Conrad. I'm the founder and CEO of Crux Analytics. Crux Analytics started as a consulting company, a management consulting company with just me, and has turned into an organization with about 17 people, and we'll probably be 30 by the end of the year. I'm a mechanical engineer by background. So I've worked many years, over 18 years in the oil and gas industry, designing and building automated drilling rigs. And I was running fleets of rigs, trying to figure out how to best optimize them and do return on investment calculations for, implementing new technology, technology and stuff to try and get a return on that investment. And I just figured there had to be a better way. And so that's really where Crux came from. It was meant for the oil and gas industry, and there's not a whole lot of capital going on there. And we found a little niche in the mining industry with core drilling, sampling, basically the exact same thing as oil and gas drilling, just a lot simpler and a lot smaller. But on an international scale, it's actually a large business. So yeah, we basically build software to help them digitalize their data and optimize their business operations.
It's a cool story. So actually in a way, your whole company is a big hack for the core business, right? I think sounds like a lot of stuff they did in the past was fairly manual and maybe on spreadsheets and stuff, right?
We literally took them, we replaced their carbon copy paper. So.
Oh, so this year is it's from Stone Age to technological age. So, and actually I'd be interested more, we don't have to talk about even right now, but comparing the differences between what is essentially coring, you said, in the oil and gas industry. And I think there's a lot of that. It might be a whole other panel sometime. There's a lot of things that people do in the oil and gas industry that are transferable. So it's a cool story. So yeah. So maybe actually, and I'll just throw this out to the panel, but so everybody's had to be creative this last year and do things differently and virtually. And I'm curious to know, as you guys have grown your company or did things, is it either tied into just because of COVID or because just the nature of the way you've chose to grow your business? Have you done more virtual things and hired virtual freelancers or used virtual tools or things that maybe you wouldn't have before that now you've learned is a really efficient way to do business? Scott, did you have something maybe you want to, who wants to start there?
Yeah, for us, we took it as an opportunity. We were fortunate to have started a lot of Google advertising before the pandemic and seen a really good return on it. And we were fortunate that we found a company that was able to put it into kind of an understanding that, you know, this is the time to market. When everything was going down, they were able to pull analytics for us to say, everybody, all of your competitors are pulling budgets right now. And we were able to climb the ranks within Google, which is our biggest marketing tool, substantially. We went from page 8 to page 1 within about a 4-month period. And our revenue based strictly off of Google it's gone up over 100% in the last year, which is fantastic. And our actual cost per click has gone down. So we had originally started doing that ourselves, and I am not a Google expert. I'm myself a computer expert by any means, but that was a big thing for us, is finding somebody that could do something and take us to the next level from a marketing perspective, which was great. And COVID just happened to be an opportunity where we either had to think outside the box and make a splash, or kind of just go by the wayside and hunker down, where we actually invested more in that, and we've seen more of a return coming up the backside.
So I actually want to explore this one a bit more, because I've watched people lose a fortune on Google or any pay-per-click, right? Because it sounds good, but it's the optimum marketplace, right? Google auctions off every click for the highest value possible, and if you're a sucker, you're going to pay the highest value possible per click. So the fact that you hired a company, one, you started on your own and then hired a company, is interesting. But I suspect, Jamil, in your business, which is like, you got real estate marketing is huge, right? So maybe if you could add on to that, I would be really interested in any marketing tips or hacks that you've learned in your business.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, you're right. You know, there is a lot of competition. If you think about it, I think there's about 5,000 real estate agents in Calgary, and not all of them are active, but you know, usually the 20% of us are out there trying to do what we need to do. And you know, going back to the original question, when it comes to, were we doing this before COVID, or was COVID what kind of really pushed it? Well, before COVID we were, but we weren't, you know, at it as much. But when it comes to your online marketing, your Google pay-per-clicks, or even Facebook ads, things like that, at the end of the day, you want to be in front of where your clients are going to be, or your customers are going to be. And the reality is that prior to COVID, when people were working in office environments, and trust me, I was there before, right? I was in one of the big towers downtown. You had to have your phone tucked away, you know, and somebody comes by and looks at you and you're staring at your phone. It's not a good thing. So what you'd end up doing is, when you're trying to attract your potential client, you'd be posting at a certain time, going, okay, you know, they'll probably be looking between their lunch break, or by the time they get home and there's a little bit of a break there before they have dinner or before they go to bed. It completely threw everything off, because everyone's in front of their phone all day long now, right? And so, you know, the infamous question of what's a really good time to post, thrown out the door, and it's now at any point in time, because people are online all the time. And so what that's really been able to do is really get a lot more, not only breadth, but also depth into your targeting as you are trying to do the online PPC or Facebook ads. So it's been great.
That's interesting, actually, because you're right. For the last year, I've not heard about the optimum time to post, right? And that's used to be all the time you'd manage it, and you had all these tools, right? Hootsuite and all them to just post at the optimum time. So that's an interesting observation and probably reality. So, hey, Russ and Jody, you guys are more B2B. So how do you guys handle the marketing side, and any tips?
I was going to say LinkedIn has actually become my key driver. And actually, one of my largest clients I got by just sending a private message out on a whim on LinkedIn. Wow. and I signed Rio Tinto over that message. So
Wow.
it's crazy, but everyone's on it nowadays. And so if you know enough people look at it and go, oh, well, she knows so and so and so and so. You know what? I might read her message, and it's been amazing, and a lot of more personal, getting out of your comfort zone. And I pay for the premium, and I send people notes on LinkedIn all the time, and I bet you 1 out of 10 get answered, but that 1 out of 10 can be really, really beneficial. So that's where we focused all of our marketing dollars. Google ads don't really help us, but the LinkedIn sales marketing does.
And I think B2B, you're right, because it's different than B2C consumers, right? So, and actually, it's interesting you say that 1 out of 10, but I mean, it's when I get them, if they're personal, then I'll respond. If they're just kind of group ads in LinkedIn, then I tend not to, right? So how do you make people read them?
So I always introduce myself and a mutual acquaintance that we have and how I know them. So I always say, I know that you know Claire from tech. I've worked with tech on these projects. I'm wondered if you're interested in seeing what we're doing for them. And that's how I get a response, because I make it personal, even though I don't know them. Or I try.
Well, and I think that's anybody who came out of the oil and gas world says they know their network and all they know is oil and gas. So LinkedIn is actually a way to pivot into a whole other industry then. Cool. Russ, how about you? Any marketing tips?
Well, the specific of my business is a long-term client, so it's not one sale and done. So it's really building relationships. So for me, neither Google Ads or LinkedIn doesn't work unless it's an introduction to the clients of my clients. So my main focus is keep in touch with the clients on the continuous basis, try to be proactive, explain something that comes up, be on top of the regulation changes and stuff. So that allows me to build confidence and build authority, and definitely it gets some investments. It's a long-term game when you get the trust and relationship is built, solid relationship, and that gives your products and gives you additional clients later on. So I'm not focused on the Google Ads at all.
So it's interesting, a couple things, and I'll just to see if there's any final comments. So common themes were introductions are important, right? And then your reputation is important in being kind of a bit of a subject matter expert, right? So any final comments or thoughts on that sort of marketing before I got lots of questions. So
yeah, I'd add in one thing, and then this kind of goes along the lines of what Russ was alluding to, which is not, you're in the business of having long-term clients. I think we're probably all in a similar, because it's, what my MBA taught me is it's easier to sell to an existing client than to go and find a new one, right? And we've kind of learned that through practice. And so when it comes to marketing, you could either go straight out and ask for the sale, or, what I believe in is give value, give more value, vomit even more value, and after you're done vomiting, give them more value. Because at the end of the day, everything is a Google search away, but people actually want to know if you're competent and what you can do to help support them. And then at some point in time, that sale is going to come. So one of the areas that I'm trying to figure out myself, and if you guys have anyone I can speak to, great, is when you go and do these, you go and do like a Facebook ad or you do Google pay-per-click, it's easy. Like, trust me, it's not hard to throw money at it, and you throw spaghetti and something comes back to you. The second step is to filter them out to make sure that, they're good quality potential candidates that you want to work with, because at the end of the day, I think we would all love to work with clients we prefer to work with, as opposed to just anybody. And some people are hard asses and you don't want to work with them, right? But then it is, how do you scale it to the next level and keep them engaged? Because they're all going to be in different sales cycles, right? Like in a different spot in the sales cycle. So stay engaged with them, give them the value. But then on top of that, if you want to call it your drip campaign, and staying in front of them and being top of mind, so that when they are ready, whether they have a question or want to send a referral out to you or whatever it is, that you're there and ready to serve them. So that's kind of the next step to the marketing piece, just not bringing somebody in, but then it's keeping them in the funnel and going from there.
Is there any comments on stuff? And I know a few of you, I think you do a bit of newsletters and some different things you do. Any success or things that you guys found successful just to stay in touch with your clients? Russ, you keep your clients updated on the latest CRA stuff, and that
Yeah,
seems
well,
to connect.
this is actually my only focus. Keep up updates. It can be through the newsletters or emails or changes or something. It's always important to keep the business owner focused on the business and less on the changes in the technology. It's a background game, and they usually need the support on the background. So the front line you just give to the business owner, and the back line you just keep gatekeeper.
And do you guys use any tools, MailChimp or even internal like Slack channels, or is there any technology tools that you guys really use to stay communicated either with your customers or even internally with your staff, right? Are there things that, I've just about tried every one of them, and sometimes I go it's just another noise, right? Some things seem like noise, and some things seem like they really connect, and it depends, very situational. But I'm curious to know, maybe we'll just go each one of you. Is there any technology or tools that you really use to help with your communications with your clients or internally?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. We're using a Hubspot CRM, and it's been really, really good for us. It was small enough and cheap enough for us to get started. And when I first got it, I was the only salesperson, the only one talking to clients. And I thought it was a waste of my time, and I don't know why I'm doing this. And it ebbed and flowed, and I didn't always put everything in there. But I've just recently hired a client service manager, and he's been able to go in and read back my emails and understand who the people are. And it has been very, very valuable. And we use that to push out our monthly newsletters. And so all of my connections and clients are in there. And so I can see who's reading them and who isn't, which has been beneficial, because I'd say our newsletters get about a 20% read rate. And we're only sending them to people who have login accounts to our software so far. So it is interesting to see how many people actually engage with it. And so we're just evaluating different options on that right now.
So I've heard of HubSpot, but it's kind of like a CRM and like a MailChimp and a CRM together? Is that what it?
Yeah,
does?
and if you do LinkedIn ads or Google ads, it'll also link how many people went to your website and stuff like that. So like it interacts with everything. It watches our website, kind of like Google Analytics. So it kind of pulls that all together. There is a cost for it. We're on a higher subscription now, but I found it. Some days I hate it, some days I love it. And we're still figuring it out, but it has been helpful for us just to see, right? You send an email out, you don't know what happens. At least now we have a little bit of an idea of what's happening with it.
And just in relation, I know I've looked at like Salesforce before, and as much as they say they're small business, it's really not affordable sometimes. So HubSpot is a reasonable for small businesses?
Yeah, so if you're a startup, you can get a really good rate. I'm on I think it's $50 a month, and it was a promotion for a year or something. So that's been pretty good, but I think it will go up to about $200 a month. But I think it has now proven its value. So it's eased me into it.
Cool. Any other communications technologies you guys use, Scott?
For us, just because we're kind of unique, is we have contractors all over the place. So what we've tried this year is just to kind of have more of an engagement with these contractors, because we kind of follow the ebbs and flows of projects and weather and everything like that. We can be really busy one month and then slower the next. So we've just kind of implemented a weekly meeting where we can go over it can be 10 minutes just checking in. This is what we're doing this week. Or we can also do some training along with that, where this is the most recent information on blood pressure or musculoskeletal injuries or whatever it is, and just keep it short and concise. But we've seen a huge difference in just the interaction with the contractors and the engagement, and they kind of feel like they're a bit more of the bigger picture as opposed to just a call and we need to go to work type thing.
Yeah, because your workflow's up and down project by project, right? So interesting. Yeah. And Jamil, what do you use for communication tools?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things. So when it comes to within the internal team, we do use Slack. And that just allows us to communicate with one another, and we'll pop in when we have a client, we'll create a specific channel for them. We haven't actually brought the client into Slack. We just keep that as an internal thing. And then we also use a Trello board. I don't know if you guys know what Trello is. Initially, I wasn't too big of a fan of it, but it's turned out to be kind of a good wonder. It's almost like having a big whiteboard, and you can move people through stages, and it's got little checklists in it and things like that. And we're now exploring the use of Asana. We haven't thought that one through just quite yet. I think it's going to be, change is change, right? So why try and fix something that's working right now? But I think it'll allow us to streamline it a little bit more. But what I really love about all of this is, like, doesn't matter where your team is, you now have access to it. You don't actually have to be sitting in a boardroom to see what stage everybody's at. You can literally just pop up the Trello board and walk through and see exactly what you're doing. So it's been wonders for sure.
So I'll add a comment on that. I've tried them all: Asana, Trello, and actually Slack. And it's interesting because it seems some companies deal with, they do all their clients, everything gets on Slack channels and all the documents. What I found interesting in our company is Microsoft has come a long way, because now we use Teams for all kinds of things, but you can also, we are using the Asana app in the Teams environment, right? And it's really been a pivot for us to move everything from SharePoint and all these different things into a Teams environment, and then layer on the apps. And for me, it finally kind of closes that gap between like having too many apps and then apps all in one place now. So that's something I found, because I actually, for a while, it just seemed like just another app, right? So anyways, that's my tip. And Russ, what do you
well, yeah, the workflow is fully managed through the cloud accounting system, QuickBooks Online. But besides that, we're using Teams. We're using Align to assign the tasks. But besides the communications, something very important for us is actually company alerts. And the company alerts usually triggers the communication after all. And what means company alerts? So for example, if we do build a dashboard and something that we monitor, let's say cash position for the company, and the cash position has a threshold. So the dashboard sends an automatic email and says, hey, you are below this threshold, we need to chat. So usually after that, the owner receives the message, follows up with me, and the communication happens. So it's not only the communication per se, but it's an alert system that allows the business owner to be on top of all the most important pulse, I would say, of the company. So the pulse indices and numbers and stuff.
So I'm curious about the dashboard. So is that dashboards within QuickBooks or dashboards that you've layered on top?
Currently we're using the business intelligence dashboard by Microsoft, Power BI.
Power BI,
and that is linked to the accounting system, or it's linked to this Excel spreadsheets or anything else, right? So it pulls the data from different APIs and stuff. So that the dashboard is customized based on the business. So if the business is really cash conscious, we put emphasizes on the cash position, right? If it's something that we need to look on the receivables, so we keep track on the receivables, what's the receivables turnaround and stuff, right? So it's very customizable, but that's important communication to the business owner. So and by the way, that's accessible online from any point of the time. And I think Jamila was mentioning that so you can wake up in the middle of the night as a business owner and you want to find something important, and you're in the middle of the night. So actually this allows the business owner just to pull out this important dashboard. It's like a pulse measurement of the business, different type of the measures, and that gives the picture, hey, well, on the top, I can go to my vacation Hawaii.
I could tell everyone on here who has their own business, as you said, wake up in the middle of the night and look at something. They've all done that. I'm actually, so a couple things, dashboards and managing your finances. So clearly hand in hand, but actually within companies, are you guys using any tools or hacks for dashboarding or really to keep an eye on your finances there, Jody?
We use Power BI as our analytics platform for everything we do drilling. As Russ was talking, I was like, I should link my QuickBooks to that. That's
there you
so
go.
smart.
Oh, you haven't done yet.
So
I just want,
you know,
Yeah, I just
you're
want to
gonna.
mention that it's
Yeah.
always a fight between the owner and the accounting department, because accounting department is so behind to provide the data to the
Yeah.
owner, and this is because it's difficult. It's a delay processing the paper receipts and stuff. So there is an extra step to that. It's called receipt bank. When you scan the receipt and the artificial intelligence scans and enters the information in the QuickBooks on time. So imagine that you go to the store, you scan the receipt, and it's already in the accounting system, and that pushes into the dashboard, and you're almost instantly, like couple of hours on top of all information. So that's all technology going through the business intelligence and artificial intelligence.
So because Jody just wants to wake up in the alarm that goes in the middle of the night that she's got another $1 million deal, because Australia is on a different time zone, right? So.
They are. And I don't know how many times I've woken up at 2 a.m. and had to answer like, morning, or Crux Analytics. Like, I'm wide awake. Some guy in the field, I can't log in.
There you go.
So,
I'll just wake up and then help you.
yeah, exactly.
I'm curious. So actually, that Rusty mentioned all kinds of things that Jamil, Scott, and Jody. So do you dashboard or even the little apps like the receipt bank where you can take a photo of your. I mean, it's amazing how small things sometimes make a huge difference. So you can just take a photo of your receipt and it goes right into your QuickBooks. Jamil?
So every business has a room for improvement, and that's one area of my improvement. I do take a snapshot of all my receipts, but I don't have them go in automatically. I do review what I call my P&L on a monthly basis. It's just important to know where you're at with your money, but that's the extent that I have on my end.
So I can speak mainly because Russ actually does my accounting. So I'm sure I've made his life way easier, and any expenses I have to do at the end of the month with simple apps like Receipt Bank. And I have to say technology's come a long way, because a picture used to be just a picture before, but now the intelligent scanning, I'm assuming, because I don't get hounded too much, that it actually transposes most of the data from a receipt into a QuickBooks line item, right? Which is pretty cool. So Scott, any technology tips or dashboards you guys use?
No, I'm still kind of running a little bit archaic with my dashboards and stuff like that. We do use Dropbox for a lot of just file sharing and stuff like that, because we are in, I guess, 3 different clinics and 2 sites at any one time where people will need to access different documentation. So that's just an easy way for us to, I guess, quickly get access to those, and also quickly cut access if we ever need to. So that's from an internal perspective. I can be anywhere as long as I have my phone or my computer. I can log in and get documents where they need to go if for some reason something's down. But that's probably the one that we're trying to use more and more, just because everybody's kind of all over the place.
So in document and file management, Jody, Jamil, you guys?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dropbox. Everything is Dropbox for me. I'm not a fan of Google Drive. I know a lot of people love it. There's just something about it when I can double click a folder on my desktop and that's there, and I can get it from my phone. And everything goes structured, and keep it as organized as possible, because things can go the wrong way sometimes.
Yeah.
We use Teams for all of our internal communication, but we have like a SharePoint file structure is how we set it up to use it like a Dropbox. So it's on everyone's computers, so they can pick the folders that are always available on their devices. But everything of ours is on OneDrive basically. So the same thing, just using SharePoint.
And do you have client access? So security. So that's a big deal probably around file management. Everything is just like Scott said. You have security access and who gets to see what, and you manage that for clients as well, access to SharePoint?
Yeah, so we just share maybe demo videos and stuff over SharePoint with our clients. Anything that we're actually sharing with them that is critical information is actually through our platform. And so we're SOC 2 compliant. Right, yeah. We have a big threshold of security compliance and stuff for all of our data, because we're sharing data about holes and drilling results and stuff. So yeah, that's a different level, but yeah, we use Teams. We use Teams throughout our organization and all of the Microsoft platform.
And
And then
Russ, with your,
Sorry.
sorry.
Someone said Trello. Jira is another tool from
Yeah.
Atlassian, and we use Jira as well. But all of these communicate together, which actually works pretty slick.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm working on actually another for a client, a huge project, and it's huge. So we use Primavera scheduling, and we have lots of tools. But for some real workflow management where we needed people to watch stuff, Trello was a perfect, right? You just move the cards. You just move them from, basically you're moving a workflow from pile to pile to pile, and everybody can look at it and see their cards, right? So yeah, we've talked a bit about accounting and finance hacks. I'm curious, so small business cash flow is huge, and we talked a bit about the dashboarding, but is there anything that you guys have learned along the way that from either communication or financial that you would, if you could do it over again, you would have done it differently? And I would say the big learning for companies is around cash flow and communication stuff a lot of times, right? So, and Russ, you could, without naming names, you probably have some clients you could probably have had to help them undo stuff and change things.
Yeah, the cash flow is a king for small companies for sure. So
Yeah.
collection of receivables is the biggest issue usually in the COVID situation, because your customers are in the same situation like you. So they have troubles with the cash, or they have trouble with the receivables on their own. And so we really emphasize the focus on collecting receivables, sending the receivables as quickly as possible, maybe sending bi-weekly instead of the weekly, and try to follow up with the clients, offering discounts to collect the cash flow. It's another way, especially for the businesses that don't have access to the business line of credits. So let's say you don't have access to the working capital, so you can propose to the customers to pay at 3%, 2% discount on receivables. That worked for one of my clients. Besides that, have somebody who is on top of the grants and benefits, and government usually, even besides the COVID, government has different grants that you can benefit. Depends on the industry, depends on your situation. Alberta government has grants for the shred and for IT. So being on top of the legislation, it's important, because that enhances your cash flow position as well.
I'm curious about that, and ask anyone else here. So it's always a double-edged sword with grants, because sometimes the application process takes so long and so much effort. You go, is it worth it? But are there any? So I'm curious to anyone of you panel, if you've actually applied for grants, got grants, and if you've any lessons learned or advice on the whole grants and the funding availabilities.
So I've got grants from all three: Irap, AI, and Shred. Shred, you can hire good people to do a shred claim. You'll pay them 20% off the top, but you literally don't have to touch it, and they'll get your cash back. But they actually don't help your cash position, because it's an after the fact thing. So you have to have already invested the cash, spent the cash to get it back. Alberta Innovates has some really good grants to cover 80% of a salary hire. That is for potentially your R&D or commercialization of a product. Their grant application is excruciating, and I hate every single one of them. But once you have it, they don't ask you to report monthly. They ask you to report once a year, and the money goes in your bank account every month to pay that person's salary. So it's beautiful once you get it. It's a pain to get it. And then Irap, again, their application process isn't as onerous as AI, but they want a monthly update. And it's not too bad, but you do have to stay on top of it if you want to get the money back. And Irap will usually fund based off a project. So you have a specific project and scope and people that you're going to need to use it. And they usually fund based off that and your progress. So all three are really good, have different uses. I recommend doing them for everybody. An Irap grant is what gave me the confidence to quit my job and start a company. So you just got to go.
And even some simple, so obviously the COVID grants here, I think the Alberta government has an upcoming grant program for small business as well. I think it's more in the service sector. Maybe Russ, do you know any more about that one at all?
There are a couple of grants. So the first grant is the Alberta grant for most impacted businesses that has more than 50% revenue drop year by year in the same month. So what they say, if you have 3 months in the last 8 months, drop in revenue more than 50%. So you can get a loan through the BDC. It's not grant, it's more loan through the BDC, but it's a guaranteed loan with no personal guarantee, and it's a 4% interest, so that helps on the working capital. There is another grant through the employers for specific type of the industry called essential employers, such as health offices, private medical offices, trucking, warehouse, grocery warehouse and stuff. So they give grants up to $1,200 per employee who has a $25 salary or less and put at least 300 hours between October and January. So those are essential positions, and those are specific industries. So it's not like everyone. So
yeah, I think, and then there's some other things. It's the government summer student grant. Oh, go ahead.
There is a Canadian emergency benefit grant. Everyone knows, I guess, about the 40 grand initially, and then 60 grand was increased with the forgiveness of 25% if you pay up before the end of 2022. So that's 25% out of 40,000. It's a $10,000 grant if you pay it down. So it was based on the payroll. So if in 2019 you had more than 40,000 in the payroll, you would qualify, no question. So it's very easy. Most of my businesses got that grant, so that helped a lot.
And then there's some other ones that have been ongoing, like summer student grant. If you need summer students, it's apply for and then get it back at the end of summer after the hours are placed in. Do you guys, anyone else on the panel got any grants or anything that I don't want to say easy money, but there's a lot of accessible money that people don't even know about, right? No?
Just one more to mention, maybe
learn more about it though.
Just one more to mention, maybe somebody can benefit, but there is a job grant. So if you have people sending for training, the government will cover 2/3 of the training cost. It's been for a while, like at least 5 years, as far as I know. So if you have a team that you want to grow the people from one position to another position, it covers different type of the certification diploma. That's really helpful for the training.
The kicker with that one is you have to apply almost 2 or 3 months ahead of the course. Correct. So sometimes people have come to us and they're like, oh, I want to go to this course. It starts next week. And you're like, oh, great. And you can't get the funding if you don't do it ahead of time. But yeah, it's definitely there from the government of Alberta.
Yeah, that's correct.
Good. I'm going to ask one more question, then we're going to open it up to everybody. Personal hacks. Is there anything you guys do? So entrepreneurs and small business owners, you can be up in the middle of the night for sure, especially if you're working customers in Australia, but any personal hacks or anything you do just for your own sanity and well-being that you'd like to share? Scott, head out to BC once in a while?
Yeah, I've always struggled with that, where it's like, well, you're on all the time. And I think with working from home, I think like we've tried to embrace that a little bit more, where it's like, okay, we have to be on, but we don't have to be on in Calgary, for instance. So we've been fortunate that we've been able to take advantage of that and work from a distance. I mean, you're still keeping Calgary hours or Toronto hours, whatever it is. But the reality for me in my business is that I've structured it in a way where I can't actually do a lot of the work from a qualification standpoint. So I have to be on, but I'm not providing a lot of value by being on site. So for me, I'm very fortunate that I can get out and be somewhere different as long as I have an internet connection and my computer, whether I'm sitting in the clinics or somewhere else. I'm fortunate that it doesn't really matter too much or have too much of an impact, but it gives me time to kind of just work in a different setting and kind of come back a little bit refreshed, even though I'm still working from a distance.
Yeah. You guys, what have the rest of the panel done for personal sanity hacks? Jody, you're laughing.
I'm only laughing because I'm thinking back to when my children were home and sanity was really important. But that's over. That was last year. It won't happen again, knock on wood. I work all the time. I'm not good. You shouldn't ask me for hacks because I just work too much. But the one thing that I've noticed is that every time I actually decide to finally hire someone, because it's like, okay, clearly I'm not doing a good enough job at this anymore. I should really hire someone. I hired a customer support specialist about 4 weeks ago. I don't know, 5 weeks ago. And it's literally sink or swim because all of a sudden my time is completely eaten up by something else. And this guy's just out there and he's doing a great job. And he said to me just yesterday, he goes, I have no idea how you did this.
Yeah.
Like 4 weeks ago. I'm like, nor do I. But I'm really happy you're here. And I've just filled my time with something else. But it's yeah, I'm not someone to learn from, but it's funny. You do hit points though, and I can't tell you what it is for me, but you'll hit a point when you realize that you have to hire someone to do it because you can no longer do it. So be aware of those and maybe a little bit sooner than I am.
So a hiring hack. Yeah. Jamil?
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer that you design your business for the lifestyle that you want. And sometimes as entrepreneurs, or even if you want to look at a lot of real estate agents, there's this thing about having to be on all the time. And you almost run into kind of a pseudo shoemaker syndrome where you're kind of helping all these other people out, but you're not taking care of yourself first or your family first. And so it's all, you know, what's the big why? Why are we always doing this? It's great. There's abundance of money out there. We're going to get those clients. They're going to come no matter what. But if we don't take care of ourselves first, we're going to crash and burn. And trust me, I've been there. Okay. I 3 years ago, between March and June, literally could not move because as much as my business was thriving, I hated it. I go, what do I want another client for? Because I'm just going to be burning the candle on both ends. So that's when I reshaped my entire business. And so from a personal hack perspective, everything is focused on being as structured as possible. And so sometimes I preach, but I don't always act, but I do it as best as I can. I'm up at 5 a.m, but between 5 and 7, it's all about me. It's not about anybody else. If I can take care of myself first at the beginning of the day, I'm going to be able to have a good day. And then I'll make sure that between, I'd say about 8 to about 2 to 3 p.m., I'm going to pound the pavement and do what I need to. And then everything else I try and set and automate as best as I can. And I'll wake up and do it again the next morning. But if I'm not going to take care of myself and my family, then there's no point in doing what I'm doing. So, yeah.
Cool. And that's the entrepreneur's dilemma, right? Is every call is a potential sale, and and the next call could be another one. And if you say no, it seems like you're last, right? So it's how to balance that is tough, right? So
well, it's very difficult. It's very and everyone here is fairly specialized. That's kind of the way it's coming across. I'm a real estate agent. There's 5,000. I got 4,999 competitors that anyone can go and pick up the phone. But like I said, it's about working with clients who you want to work with and having that trust and confidence in yourself that you are the right answer for this person. And if they respect you, then you know you're going to have a good relationship with them, right? So,
yeah. Russ?
Well, being very, very automated, so I can work from any point in the world as far as I have Wi-Fi or internet connection. So it's not a problem for me to go away. It's a problem to make sure that I prioritize and fit into the deadlines. Deadline is a hard deadline and needs to be completed by certain time. So really prioritization is the big focus for me. So when I start my day, I try to put on the paper what I'm going to achieve today and as much as effort requires in order to get and achieve. In the meantime, just try to get for a walk, a ping pong game or something for 10 minutes. So that's just distracting your brain from routine and get back to work. So
a huge advocate of walking. In fact, I built a walking desk, treadmill desk to it. So and you know what, I don't, you know, I don't like the word multitasking, but I do like integrating activity, because if you just sit all day, sometimes you're not doing, eventually you just burn out, right? So walking and on a phone call, or sometimes there's lots of ways to be healthier about what you got to do anyways, right? So I always find that. And I will say a tip for me is, because I've probably, like everyone else, multiple emails and coming from, you know, all different directions, but on a lot of emails, I actually just put my reply with some expectations, like I'll get back to you within 2 days, right? Because some emails are more urgent than others, but everybody thinks their emails are the most urgent, right? But in the scheme of things, as an owner, you sometimes have to prioritize, and a lot of times your automatic reply can kind of set the expectations, right? I'm on a condo board, and basically say I only check those emails on the weekend, right? Just I'll do that on the weekend. I'm not going to do it during the week, and actually, it's added some sanity to my life. So, okay, actually, maybe we'll just open up. First of all, we're not the only ones on the panel with tips. So, first of all, is there anyone who's joined us who has just burning to share some tip or hack that that you think everyone should know? Shauna.
Hi, Shauna Quigley. I'm a business coach.
Yeah.
One of the tips that I learned in the sales training that I teach is a very powerful little hack. It's a little math calculation, but I find it works so well with particularly solopreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is, real simple. What is the volume or revenue that you want to do in the year? Divided by 1,880, which is a calculation for number of hours, essentially, over the course of it. And that will give you a good baseline. So whatever it is, 100, 200, 300. So when it comes to, like Jody was talking about, do I do this or do I delegate it or hire someone else? Very simple. Oh, it's $300 and I can pay $30 to have someone. And it also is sort of that good little hack to kind of not just delegate, but to keep you focused on the most important priorities or business building activities. So that's my tip.
That's a great hack. It's the worst when you're starting a business, when you have no revenues and realize how much time you put in. The math is really bad, but eventually it comes around, right, Jody? That's a good tip. Anyone else have a hack that they want to share or build or just add, comment on that?
I think that's a good point, though, that was just made, because you can, as a business owner, you're wearing so many different hats. And a lot of this topic is on outsourcing and using different tools like that. But I'm like, for myself, I am not good at bookkeeping or accounting. And for me to do that, for instance, as one task in a business, I would spend way more time than I should. I'd probably get it all wrong and then have to pay my accountant to do it. So I don't do any of that. I outsource all of that to people that are way better at it, and they can do it efficiently. And I think the other thing on that topic that was just brought up is kind of bring somebody in. We gave a lot more autonomy for product development and training and stuff like that to the different contractors to teach each other. And it's been fantastic. We've from a knowledge perspective, and once again, it's that empowerment. They feel like they're more part of a team and driving the company as well. So it's both freed me and my partner up to do the growth of the business as opposed to every little thing within it.
It's kind of an interesting, and it has a lot to do with good hires. But if you have a good hire and you don't have time to do something, whether they like it or not, they've given ownership of it, and sometimes people just thrive on that, right? They do better than you could because they really feel like they got some ownership of it, right? And that's kind of a relief if you're the boss.
And to add on that too, Shauna's point, is you also have to know, obviously how much revenue you want to bring in. That's the value of your time. So there's other things that you do in your life that aren't worth it either. I mean, one of the biggest, actually, here's a hack for you, is I now get HelloFresh or Make Good Food, whatever it is. I get those boxes every week because I no longer have time to go to the grocery store. It costs me more in groceries, but it saves me so much time and allows me to actually have meals with my family. So that actually is a little hack that I've done lately that is just huge weight off my shoulders.
And they're not bad meals.
Oh, they're great.
They're good.
It's
Good.
it is stuff like that that you have to remember your time has value to it too.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions for the panel or anyone else here? No? Good. Oh, Nav?
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Taron, for inviting me and the panel here. The question I have is, given that we're in a pandemic, and for those of you who work with, like you have mentioned, you have staff on your team or staff or team members that you work with. How have you noticed people around you? Like, how have their needs changed? Whether that's in your staff or team member that you didn't notice was there before COVID, and how have you found like some of the hacks or tips to manage those? I'm really curious.
It's a bit about the personal, yeah, you know what, we talked about our own personal hacks for personal health, but it's our employees as well, actually. So, and Scott, I wouldn't mind start with you because you got an interesting workforce that goes up and down and they live project to project. And I suspect when they're on a project, they're kind of all in and then nothing between projects, right? So do you have to worry about that or?
So like a lot of, or I guess all of ours are healthcare professionals. So nurses that are generally not working full-time, they're working like a half-time or a 0.7 or whatever it is. But what we've actually done is kind of in an effort to stabilize them. They are still independent contractors and can work everywhere else. But what we've done is we've tried to give them more hours throughout this pandemic time to do a lot of these other internal projects, like getting our COVID procedures and helping our clients get COVID procedures. They're pulling right from AHS with experience. So it's been a great asset. But we've actually tried to give our contractors more hours in the slow time, like when we're not specifically out doing testing. And that's one, they're burnt out from being in the hospitals during COVID. They've been run pretty ragged. So a lot of the nurses that we have on contract with us, they still get to play in the healthcare field, but they're valued completely different. They're valued as experts as opposed to a cog in the mighty machine of AHS. So we've just found that their mental state and giving them the ability to make some calls has been really, really good, and they've really bought into that.
Anyone else have a comment on their employees? And then I'm actually, after that, we're going to just do one last round of final closing thoughts.
One thing we've done is, we used to be known for the snack counter. So we'd get groceries every week brought in for everybody. So people, if you're working at your desk and if we're working in teams, there was always food around, and we haven't had it obviously during the pandemic. Everyone's been home and they don't have the same snack counters. Probably I'd say at least once a quarter, we've sent out care packages and people didn't know they were coming. So, for Christmas, we sent a bottle of Bailey's hot chocolate and a Yeti mug. And, we did a Zoom call one week with everyone asking what their favorite snacks were. And then we put together a package of everybody's favorite snacks and sent them to everybody for the next Zoom call. So everyone got to try everyone's snacks. We've done some interesting stuff like that to try and keep the team kind of together and make them feel like they're still a part of the office. It's something we're looking to actually build upon because, again, that's something that falls under myself and my partner's job description. So it's been hard to keep up on, but we think it's super important. And for example, this week, we're doing vulnerability scanning on everyone's computer. So everybody physically had to come to the office this week for a 2-hour time frame. We filled our snack counter right up. The beer fridge is full. There's a case of wine and everyone can take beer, wine, and some snacks home. So it's little things that we just try to keep them all connected.
And who makes sure that Jody gets the right snacks?
I bought the wine. So.
Yeah. You know what? Jody, I'm going to give you the last word. We're going to go around, and if you want to start with any last comments or tips, and then we'll just go to everybody and can include any employee stuff as well. So any closing comments or anything you want to add, Jody, or things we didn't talk about?
No, not that I can think of right now. The biggest thing is just have fun. I enjoy it every day. I talk about working too much, but I enjoy it, and I've made my bed, and I'm good with it. And I love it. So just have fun, because if you're not having fun, it's not worth it. So
Cool.
that's a big tip in itself. I mean,
For sure.
if it's not fun, it's not worth it.
Exactly. Sounds like fun. Snacks sound good. Russ, any final hacks or comments that we haven't talked about?
I think the last year proved that we're aiming to technology world, and we're aiming to remote working space. So we should be knowledgeable about the technology more than just opening the email and writing the letters. I think it proved itself that more we know about technology, we can automate and streamline and exclude the human being error as well. So all that together it actually makes a big difference. I think the business owners are changing, shifting to more technology side for sure.
And sounds like a lot of automation they can add too. So, cool. Scott, any final comments or hacks we didn't talk about?
I would say just from being a business owner is kind of when the times are good, just keep everything in check. Don't get too high and don't get too low. Things do change on a whim, as we've seen with COVID, but it all comes down to a state of mind. Like, you have to, if you're super negative because things aren't going well, then things are going to keep being negative. So just keep an even keel and kind of keep riding the wave, because you do have to have fun. If you're not having fun, then you shouldn't be doing it. I 100% agree with that.
Cool. Jamil, you get the last profound statement for everybody.
I got nothing to say. I'll build off of Scott just a little bit, because he's right. It comes down to mindset, guys.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ebbs and flows, and we touched a little bit about answering emails or phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, and wearing multiple hats, and we're basically the business, right? So I think, as Jim Rohn had said, a few simple disciplines practiced every day is what success is. And it's just doing the same things over, just some simple things. Stay consistent, and your business will stay consistent. Whether the market's hot or not, your business will just keep on going. So, have fun and just enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate the panel, and I actually appreciate, because each of you come from a totally different type of business. So there's some common themes, and then some things you can learn about each business, which I appreciate. Thanks for everybody who attended. And Rosemary, do you want to close it off?
Well, thanks everyone for participating, and great questions from all of our participants. And thank you very much to our panelists for all the great advice and tips and tricks. So I hope everyone got something out of this and can learn.
And we'll and it's recorded, so you're going to post it on our website, and where else?
And on our YouTube channel.
Perfect. Good. Well, thanks everybody, and have a good afternoon.
Okay, thanks, Ron.
Have a good day, everyone.